Yeah.
Every day I'm hustling.
Now some of you might still be in that place. If you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll consider it.
Welcome to The Wrecking Trade, this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., the radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of issues affecting men in the Cayman Islands. Join us as we explore the low enrollment of men and boys in college classrooms, the absence of men in the church, and the absence of fathers in the home. Join the conversation as we help men find their place in the modern world. Through engaging interviews with experts and members of the community, we provide a clear picture of what healthy masculinity looks like as an example for boys and girls. Our mission is to provide a voice for men, to help them navigate the challenges that they face and provide hope for a brighter future. So tune in this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. and join the conversation on The Wrecking Trade. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of men and boys in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you by Oscore Fitness, strong inside, powerful outside, and the Bellagio Salon and Spa, where beauty is reimagined. Welcome, welcome, welcome to The Wrecking Trade. I'm your host, Robert Lynch, author, motivational speaker, and all-round, just hopefully wonderful guy. Today we're going to have a great conversation. Last week we had some really great guests and a really great conversation. Thank you to all of you who tuned in. Right now we are at 667 subscribers from last week, just having 20 when we just got started. So thank you for signing up. Remember to like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube channel and share the message with all those you can. Now we're just going to get right into it. We have two wonderful guests. I'm going to invite them to just introduce themselves.
My name is Cassandra Lascelle. Hello. This is my first time on the radio, so we'll see how this goes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Cassandra?
And my name is Chuck Taylor. First time on the radio, too, I think. I generally don't get interviewed, so this should be interesting. One for the books.
Nice, nice, nice. Thank you, Chuck, for sitting in and helping us to get this party started. So, Cassandra, we're going to start with you. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You've already shared your name, so I'm going to invite you to share your highest level of education completed, what you do to make money, what's your relationship status, and one other question, but I'll let you go through those three first.
Okay. I don't even remember what you started with, but I'm 31 years old, 32 this year, and I went to university, British Columbia Institute of Technology in Vancouver, Canada, and I took a marketing communications course there, so I got a diploma there, and I am in a relationship.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And what do you do to make money?
I have a marketing agency here on island with one of my friends. So she's the Canadian partner. Wish she could be here, but she's off island at the moment. And yeah.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Check.
In my case, let's see. I am, 57? Relationship started, married. And what I do for my highest education level is actually high school. Mm-hmm. 38 years in radio.
Wow. That's some good years. So
yeah, it's the only job that actually paid. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny because I came into radio when people weren't in radio. Uh-huh. Literally, my mom was like, "You're gonna play music."
And people pay you to do that?
What? Wait, hold on. That makes no sense. So, and thank God, she came around after and became a believer. So, that's been good.
There you go. Radio is a really interesting place because here it is. We're just having a conversation. This conversation could be in a bar, by a hotel, pool, anywhere. Mm-hmm. We're just having a conversation and allowing the listeners to participate, to share in the thoughts and ideas that we're having. And so that's what we do on The Wrecking Trade. Today we're going to be talking about, we continue the conversation on masculinity, femininity, what men want and what women want. And the goal is to help us to together find a place where we're all happy in our relationships. More and more persons are saying... We're seeing the divorce rate increasing, and we're also seeing statistics that are saying women are less happy now than they used to be. And we're trying to figure out why. Cassandra, let's start off with you. You're in a relationship now.
Yes.
What do you look for when you're looking for the ideal guy?
I don't know if I'm like the regular woman out there because I was raised by a man with no mother figure in my life. So most of my friends think that I'm the man in relationships. I'm someone that comes in. I don't really have I don't want to say I don't have emotions, but I'm not very good at communicating. I just like to have fun. I like to have my freedom. And so when I feel like my freedom's being kind of taken away, that's when I kind of pull out of relationships. So I cycle through quite frequently, and that's kind of one of my things that I'm trying to overcome and get over and communicate a bit more and be more vulnerable, because I've just never been that type of person.
Gotcha. So how long have you been in this current relationship?
So this current relationship, it's been about 1.5 years, but I've broken up with him twice. So third time's a charm.
There you go. We'll see if it sticks, right? And we'll hope that it sticks. And hopefully maybe some things that we share today will be able to help you to make it stick a little bit more. Chuck?
In my case, I'm a divorcee several times. My current relationship, I dated her for 3.5 years, and we were married in December, just past December.
Okay.
So I'm a newlywed. And you know, the funny thing about it, because I'm listening to you, and I have a daughter.
Yes.
And 15 years old, and I'm raising her. And I listen, and I can hear what you're saying, and my daughter's like that same way in a kind of a early nutshell. Like, she is like, I just can't deal with these people, you know, because she knows exactly what she wants and how she's going to get it and what she's going to do about it.
Yes.
Because she see me doing that early on in like, okay, sweetheart, we got to do this. We got to do this. This is our time frame. So I can relate to what you're saying. And I've had this conversation with her about relationships and things, you know, because she's getting into that dating aspect and that age where you start thinking, you know what? Yeah, I see friends with boyfriends and they're having these issues. And I'm like, let's talk a little bit about this, because I was raised by my mom. And we never talked about female-male relationships because it was my mom.
Yes.
And my dad didn't do it because that's my dad. He's like, you'll figure it out. You know, so they were that old school kind of relationship people. They were married for, you know, I say since time began. You know, they had that long marriage, that 40-year marriage, but they could finish each other's sentences, but they were total opposite people.
That's right. So they were married for some 40-odd years, and yet you've been in and out of marriages a couple of times. And you were raised by your mother?
Mostly by my mom.
Mostly by your mother.
Because my dad was that seaman. He was off on the sea trade, and he was that. And
so he was there, he worked.
He worked.
So you always knew he's not here, not because he is left. He's here because he's gone off to make some money to come back.
He's doing what men are supposed to do, which is work.
Gotcha. You were raised by your mom.
My dad.
By your dad.
Yeah.
Why was your mom not in the picture?
So my mom left when I was about 3 years old, so I don't really remember it.
Gotcha.
And she just took off with my older sister, who wasn't my dad's daughter.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And then so she took off, no contact, no trace, completely gone out of my life. So my dad raised me. I was his only daughter, first child. And so he took me across the country. I was born in Toronto, and he took me over to Vancouver. And then raised me when construction was just booming in Vancouver. We didn't grow up with like a ton of money, so you know, I was very independent from a young age. I remember, you know, like 6, 7, 8 years old, walking myself home after school because he couldn't afford childcare, and kind of just being at home until he was home from work. And obviously construction, so that was like 6, 7 p.m. So I've always just kind of been independent, taking care of myself, and I think that just kind of comes through in my relationships as well. Like, I never rely on somebody else to do anything for me. So I think that's just kind of something I'm learning to get through.
All right. So do you think it's something important for you to learn, or is it something that, okay, I see it, I want it, but have you internalized it and made it, this is something I definitely want? Much like your degree. You wanted to get a degree because you needed to make money.
It's definitely something I do need to overcome, because that's just been the factor in every single relationship that I've been in. I just kind of treat it on a very surface level, and knowing that nothing lasts forever, and I just kind of have that in the back of my head, like the future is just going to be me. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like if you already have that thought in your mind, it's going to lead to failure because you're not even giving it a chance. And so that's kind of where I'm trying to be a bit more vulnerable, communicate a bit more, and give a bit more of myself, and rely on someone else building this life with me rather than doing it all for myself.
Do you find that your background and also your professionalism kind of dictates a little bit to the type of vulnerability you have with people?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I'm listening to you, and initially you said that, hey, all right, I grew up with my dad, and so that's why these things are coming from. But then later on I asked you, and you said, oh, but when my mom left when I was 3, do you think that factors into how you connect with men?
I mean, it's so weird because I remember when I got a bit older and I asked my dad, why didn't I cry a bit more? Why didn't I don't remember asking about my mother ever. And I asked my dad, why didn't you keep me in contact with her? Why didn't we try harder to find her? Mm-hmm. And he said that I literally never brought her up. Mm-hmm. And so he just never brought her up.
Continued on.
Yeah, and he said right from a young age, he said, you were just fine being your own person and doing your own things. So I don't know if just, right from birth, this is who I was, or if it was my kind of surroundings that built me into the person that I am. But I think with my dad, we definitely never talked about feelings. We never talked about boys. I hardly cried in front of my dad. If I was upset, I went to my room, shut my door, and I just kind of cried in my bed. And that's definitely the person that I am now. I'm if something's wrong or if I'm upset, I need to be by myself, think about my feelings.
Kind of putting those feelings in a box someplace. It's not for public display.
Yeah.
Right.
I go through them myself, but I need to work through it on my own.
And then you come out and you deal with it.
Fair enough. So Chuck, you mentioned that you were been in and out of marriages. What do you think kept you going through the door or cycling through?
For me, I think the timing for everything was different. In other words, I grew up in the States, Cayman, but then, schooling took a big turn. I was in and out of universities, and I started, my background was electrical engineer. I did, was in university about to graduate and got in an argument with a professor over something I learned in Cayman. And it's so funny that I think about it, said, man, imagine if I didn't know what a three-phase system was, that kind of stuff. And I got in an argument. He's like, oh, it got to be this way. And I was like, I just worked the summer doing this in the Cayman Islands. Oh, what are you doing in the Cayman Islands? That kind of idea. And then I was like, you know what? I don't need this. And became art and art history. And then from there went into radio. So me doing that, I've never been afraid of change if things didn't work out. So I kind of, looked at relationships as, okay, we're working together. But if we're not working together, then we need to make a decision. And usually the decision is made before I even see it, because, women have a way of seeing things for themselves and say, you know what, I don't like you working 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't like you having this party, because that has been my life for ages, but I've never really partake of it. I'm a very private person. Even doing this, I'm a little bit uncomfortable because nobody knows me, but everyone sees me.
Interesting.
So with that being said, the person that I'm with has never been really the private person, but now I'm at that private stage with the person. So a lot of times they'll be like, you go do what you got to do, come home. When you're home, you're just Chuck, not that person out there, interviewing and doing all these things. So that changeover has made it seemed easier with the relationship now than before.
Okay. So if I can sift through what you're saying, what I'm hearing is you've been attracted to women who like to be out on the town and
people who were with me at that time. So it's like I'm at work and you're with me at work and I'm making sure you're okay and that kind of stuff. But then I'm not really focused on my work because I'm taking care of the situation there.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's an interesting dynamic. I want to get to you, Cass, and see is there a function of we are attracted to a particular group of people, but then for some reason we don't mesh, because you can hang with people and they're great for a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, but then to think about settling down with that person, you may be thinking about someone else in your head, maybe someone more like your dad, or maybe the guys that you've dated before were less like your dad. What would you say?
I feel like I always have a feeling, like every kind of relationship I've been in the beginning, you like them so much and you see all of their kind of good qualities, and the more you kind of peel back that surface and you really get down to, okay, what's your first fight? Like, how did they react? How did they get through it together? And then you know what I mean? Like, you just keep getting down like more and more layers, and then it just kind of gets to a point like, okay, this is starting to get serious. Is this someone that I can see myself with, like, for a long time, for the future?
Mm-hmm. So interesting then. So, and Chuck, you can jump in here. Are you saying that we have a tendency to get into a relationship, see if it works out, and then while you're in it, you go, okay, fine, will this go the distance?
For me, I feel like yes, which probably isn't the best way to do it. I think that's the generation kind of that I was raised in, and even the younger generation, like you said, we're very, we don't throw away things easily, but we don't really fight to work through things.
Right.
Right? It's just kind of, it's easy to just...
I think the communication is imperative, and it's so funny because I consider myself older, and with those certain questions, like you said, what's that first fight look like? I remember dating people, and we never fought. We never had a disagreement. We never had an argument. And then when you did, it was like, wait, hold on, what just happened? 0 to 100 and
it's over.
And the attitude on both ends was like, wait, hold on, put a stop for a second. I don't like that. You don't like that. Why are we together? And I have some great friends that we almost dated, but we were like, stop, hold on, no, we know too much. Nah, this isn't going to work. And we were glad that we didn't, because that would have ruined the friendship.
Yeah.
Even though we were so compatible, and even somebody's like, oh, you and so-and-so would make a great couple. And was like, no, we're too much alike.
But then society says marry your best friend.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and so that's what gets interesting. And so we're going to dig into that a little bit more right after this break.
I came in like a rainbow. I'm not afraid.
Yeah. Every day I'm hustling.
Now some of you might still be in that place. If you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll consider it.
Welcome to The Wrecking Trade, this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., the radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of issues affecting men in the Cayman Islands. Join us as we explore the low enrollment of men and boys in college classrooms, the absence of men in the church, and the absence of fathers in the home. Join the conversation as we help men find their place in the modern world. Through engaging interviews with experts and members of the community, we provide a clear picture of what healthy masculinity looks like as an example for boys and girls. Our mission is to provide a voice for men, to help them navigate the challenges that they face and provide hope for a brighter future. So tune in this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. and join the conversation on The Wrecking Trade. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of men and boys in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you by Oscore Fitness, strong inside, powerful outside, and the Bellagio Salon and Spa, where beauty is reimagined. Welcome back to The Wrecking Trade. The studio is getting warm as we dig into relationships. What makes them work? What makes them not work? We're going to dig in a little bit deeper now as our guests share a little bit more about what they're looking for in the ideal partner, and maybe even spend some time looking at what am I supposed to bring to the table. Let's start with you, Cass. What are you looking for in the ideal man?
Well, me personally, I think, like I said, I am a very independent person, so I do need someone that understands that I need my me time just as much as, I want to connect and hang out with them. So the relationship that I'm currently in, I think he gets me very well, and he gives me that patience and understanding when I do just need to shut off if I've had a bad day and I just need to be by myself. I don't need to be texting, and he kind of gives me that space until I'm ready to come to him. So I think that's like been a huge factor in my relationship, just giving me my space and my freedom to work through things on my own, and that's just kind of the person that I am. And I think in the beginning, like the first time we dated, he didn't really give me that. He's someone that's very hands-on and wants to be there for you. He comes from a really big family, very loving family. They are in a group chat and they all talk every single day, like one of those kind of families. Where I'm the complete opposite. I don't even remember the last time that I spoke with my dad. So it's very two different dynamics of how we give love and how we want to receive love. And I think he's really taken a turn and has learned kind of what I need out of the relationship. And it's really just that. It's just some like space, freedom, time to myself, and he's communication. So I'm really now having to sit down and communicate and be that vulnerable side, which honestly kills me inside, but it has helped us grow for the better.
That's interesting that you say that, and two things are popping into my head. One, you mentioned the dynamic between yourself and your dad, and I thought you intimated that that was something that you wanted to shift from. But as you spoke, you said, this is who I am. So how do you reconcile those two things? As in, this is who you are, so this is how you were brought up. You're recognizing that pattern was not necessarily ideal. So I imagine the hope might be, I need to be something else.
Not necessarily. I guess be something else. I don't know. Like I am me through and through, and I think in every relationship you do have to slightly change how you love. How, like he is somebody that, like the guy that I'm dating, is someone that needs communication, needs kind of reassurance here and there. So I know when I'm feeling like I need a bit of a shut off, I just send him a quick message like, hey, I just need some space right now. I'm going through this, but don't worry, everything's good between us. And I'll just message you kind of when I'm through it, because he needs that. So I wouldn't say like I've changed my whole personality, but I have changed in the sense that I can recognize that people need to be loved in different ways.
Okay. So, and I see you want to jump in, Chuck.
Well, I do, but at the same...
What do you think about what you just said?
With what she's saying, it is so true, the communication side of it. And I think part of it is that we need to give clear communication. Because over the course of time, somebody said, like, oh, I thought you meant this, but I said this. But no, well, my understanding was that you said this. So even though you say things, people don't understand it completely. So you may have to reiterate, because, a lot of times we don't like talking twice. You're like, oh, I said that, but no, you like, I'm going to the groceries, I'm going to pick this up. Well, you said you were going to groceries, but you didn't say you want to take 2 hours to go. Well, I had to go to a different grocery store. So communication is, I think, at this level, especially, I tell people, living in Cayman is whatever you learned elsewhere, you toss it out the book when you come to Cayman, because the dynamics here are so different across the board. You're in a confined island. It's almost like cabin fever. You keep running into the same people from time to time. If you have an issue, or maybe you do like somebody, you keep running into them over and over and over and again. Or maybe you had a problem with them. You keep running into... So you need to be able to separate yourself kind of from certain scenarios. And I, what I do is kind of who I have been for years. My job dictates certain things, people know me for doing this. So when I'm out and about, my significant other wants to take a step back to say, okay, you go do that, because my work is highly rated for who I am for many years. So when I get home, I didn't have a TV or a radio in my house for years because it was work. So now when I get home, me and my wife sit down, she'll TikTok for an hour and I'm just behind her shoulder like, oh, okay, what's that? Because for me, this is different information, but this is stuff that she likes.
Yeah.
So now I'm learning about her continuation. Even though I know who she is, and she's like, oh, a friend of mine sent me this, or what do you think about this dress, or we're looking for summer vacations. So that takes the pressure off of me having to contribute. Now I can be a secondary and
allow her to reveal herself to you through the different things, through what she is going,
what
through.
she's liking, and what she don't like.
Which was interesting, because so as you said, you're going through stuff. You sent it that says, "Hey, I'm going through some stuff, and when I get through the other side, I'll get back to you." I'm wondering if, or let me just tell you a quick story. A couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to, change my life, so I, went to China, lived for a month in some kind of monastery where I worked on some martial arts, and there's a bunch of other guys there from different parts of the world, and every day we had this cluster that we worked together. Every day we'd wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and go through some grueling exercises. I mean, at the end of the day, our muscles were wicked and dead. And then on the weekend, we'd do some stuff together, either go into the city and do some things. And as I was leaving, I found that I was really attached to those guys who I was there with. And the thought occurred to me, and research is supporting it, that by going through things together, that's where we increase attachment. I'm wondering how you manage stress or manage difficult situations in terms of how you treat with your boyfriend.
See, and I do see that, you get through things together and it does kind of bring your bond closer. And, maybe one day I will get there, but baby steps for me. So at the moment we do this thing like once a week check-ins, right? That's the rule. So we, once a week, have to go through, okay, what do we like this week? What do we not like? Where are my feelings at? And just that conversation, honestly, puts a pit in my stomach.
That's good.
But it really, that's hard for me to do.
Gotcha.
But I do see the benefits in our relationship because we do get stronger every time we have one of those chats. And I don't know, 3 weeks ago now, my grandma passed and I was very, very close with her. And he right away was kind of he said he'd give me this space, but then actually did the opposite. Was trying to come over every day, would just show up on my door with different things to make me feel better, but really it was overwhelming for me because I just needed to cry. And like I said, people don't really see me cry, so that was something. Even my roommate, I would just go into my room and have my cry by myself, and that's kind of how I need to go through it. And I get how he felt like he was being a bad partner because he wasn't there for me, but in reality it was what I needed. So I do get the both sides, that if we did get through that together, it would make us stronger, but I'm just not there. I'm just not there yet. I just like to get
and
through.
And that's good that you realize where you are. I think a lot of people don't get where they're standing. In other words, you know what you need to move forward, and you are willing to express that, where a lot of people, they don't know who they are. And I think that is where the miscommunication and the breakups and the transition happens a lot. When you don't know what you're bringing to the table and who you are, then you can't say, okay, well, this is where I'm standing. If you need space or you need me to do this for you, or you need help, or I'm right there if you need me. And I think we as men, sometimes we have been taught to be the alpha, where sometimes being the alpha means step back and letting someone have a little space and walk a little bit. It's like a pack. You have people who are stronger, bringing older folks in. You let them do their job. Although that could be you, you let people have a little space to do what they do to bring back something to the table. And, I think we as men don't realize that sometimes to step back and be quiet is just as important as saying something.
Yeah.
Okay. But so let's explore that for a second. So you're saying you would want him to step back and just let you go through it alone?
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's exactly what, my older sister, who knows me very well, that's one of the things, she sent me a message afterwards, said, I'm so sorry. I know you're going through it right now. I'm here if you need me. And it was just kind of like a quick message, kind of being like, hey, I'm here. I know you don't want to talk about it, but when you are ready to talk about it, let me know. And I didn't reply back to her message for an entire week. And she never messaged me again throughout that week. And it wasn't until the week later when I was finally, okay, I've gone through my emotions. I'm ready to kind of talk about it. And that's when I got on the phone with her and, we were able to talk.
And then it's a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah.
Wait,
And it
hold
was.
on. But how often do you talk to your sister, though?
We talk a lot, actually. So my sister and my grandma were the only two that I talked the most in my family. So yeah, now that my grandma's gone, now it's just my sister. But we speak quite often. But it was funny the way and I had to explain that to my partner. I showed him, I was like, this is the difference. You said you were going to kind of step back and give me the space, yet every single day, you're messaging me, asking if I'm okay and all these things, where my sister knew right away, I'm going to step back and give you the space, and she did. And, the difference, the next week later, I was so ready to open up with her, and, and not that I wasn't ready to open up to my partner about it either, but it's just he told me when his grandma passed away, he called every single one of his friends and told them all and cried and all these things. And I was like, that's the opposite of me. I never even told all my best friends. It was actually him going around, and he was telling his friends, and I was getting all these messages like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, oh my God, that's not how I want to deal with it. I just don't know what it is, but I just don't like when kind of the outside, I don't know if it's sees me as weak, but it's just something that I just feel like there's certain emotions and certain things, that the bad times and stuff, that I just like to go through by myself and then come out kind of on the other end. I'm a very happy person. Everyone describes me as a happy person. So I feel like when I'm not, I don't want to show that self.
So this is where stuff gets interesting, right? So somehow you've managed to connect with a guy who wants that closeness, wants to be in your space, wants to, just be on top of you every single day. But that doesn't seem to be the thing that connects with you, and it's not the image that I got from your dad. We're going to explore that a little bit more after the break.
I came in like a rainbow. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Every day I'm hustling.
Now some of you might still be in that place. If you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll consider it.
Welcome to The Wrecking Trade, this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., the radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of issues affecting men in the Cayman Islands. Join us as we explore the low enrollment of men and boys in college classrooms, the absence of men in the church, and the absence of fathers in the home. Join the conversation as we help men find their place in the modern world. Through engaging interviews with experts and members of the community, we provide a clear picture of what healthy masculinity looks like as an example for boys and girls. Our mission is to provide a voice for men, to help them navigate the challenges that they face and provide hope for a brighter future. So tune in this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. and join the conversation on The Wrecking Trade. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of men and boys in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you by Oscore Fitness, strong inside, powerful outside, and the Bellagio Salon and Spa, where beauty is reimagined. Welcome back to The Wrecking Trade. I'm your host, Robert Lynch. We are peeling back the layers right here in studio with Chuck and Cass as we explore what are relationships, what do they look like, what are we actually looking for, and when we get it, can we recognize it? Cass, you were just sharing with us about your boyfriend, when your grandmother died, he was right there in your space sharing with, but that made you uncomfortable.
Not uncomfortable. That's just not the way that I wanted to grieve. I just wanted to grieve by myself and process my emotions and kind of work through them on my own.
All right. And so what would the ideal man for you look like?
I mean, my partner is really, really patient and does I want to say he does give me the space, just in that moment. Obviously, with a death of someone that I'm very close with, I think he just thought he needed to give me a lot more, which wasn't needed for my emotions. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's just kind of saying, hey, I'm here. When you need me, I'm still going to be here. whenever you're ready kind of thing. And just give me that time to come forward to be able to talk about it.
So you want to be able to put in some work. If he's doing all the work, you're not happy.
Well, yeah, I guess it's like, no, it's not that I'm not happy. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was doing so many sweet things. And I recognized that he was just trying to help in his own way. But it didn't overwhelm me, but it was just kind of like, okay, now I'm thinking about him. And it almost kind of made it seem like this was about him, when really it should have just been about me and what I needed. Do you know what I mean? And that was space. So the more you're doing, you're almost making it about yourself to try making yourself feel better about the situation. If that makes sense.
Understandable. I'm pretty much the same way. I had a very good friend of mine, a DJ of mine, passed away. And when he passed away, it was during the pandemic. And my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, wasn't here. She was overseas. And we were stuck, kind of like many people. We were in that pause button. And one of the things was, I told her, I said, he passed away. She was like, oh, my God, I wish I was there. And then she said something strange to me that I hadn't heard before. She said to me, okay, I'm going to give you time to get yourself sorted out. Call me when you're ready to talk. And no one had said that to me. And at that point in time, I was like, this is the one. Because my friend had passed away. And I'll say this first time, he said to me, Chuck, I think this is the one for you. Mm-hmm. And I valued his opinion highly, especially because he had known me one of the longest on island. We'd been through so much. He had been through all my divorces. He'd been through he'd been through everything. He was that one person who literally would call you 4 o'clock in the morning and you would leave your bed to go help, whatever. We always used to joke and say, you know where all the bodies are buried. That kind of joke. But, and so that understanding at that particular time was more to me moving forward from the grief.
Yeah.
In other words, that helped me get through the grief, knowing that I had somebody that I could call to. Everyone saying, I'm sorry for your loss, but it was at that moment that you realize how important you are to them moving forward, because they're taking the time to acknowledge that even though I want to be with you or even though I want to be around you, I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
To give you space to heal. Okay. And that's even with arguments. Uh-huh. With arguments, it may be hurtful to bite your tongue and not say something mean or spiteful in a conversation or something in the past, because we're human. When we get in an argument, our tendency is, I want to win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to have the last word. But it takes a bigger person not to have that last word and say, you know what? I understand what you're saying. We're going to talk about this later.
Okay.
It's my wife always jokes, she said, okay, if you're upset, there's no divorce. Go to bed. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. And literally, if you're upset the next day, you may not even remember what you're arguing or upset about, because you had time to rest. You had time to think. You may have stayed up all night, but you were given that space, and you wake up saying, okay, let's revisit this now.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. And both of you had a similar theme in that you said your wife is, there's no divorce. I'm dealing with this. Go to sleep. And I think you said earlier, hey, I'm going through some stuff. I know I'm going to pull away. I'm going through some stuff. We're good. So it's kind of like that reassurance that says things are okay, right? Why do you think that reassurance is necessary?
I don't know. I think people's minds can really take them places.
Right.
So, if you don't kind of give that reassurance and it's like, hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow, and that was it, then it's like, oh my God, is she mad at me?
Yes. Like, you're your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And this is whether it's the person you're dealing with or yourself. You literally, oh, what did I do wrong?
But here's what I'm thinking of, right? Because you're giving it to your boyfriend and your wife is giving it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we living in a world where, did you need that? Why did you not need that reassurance?
I think my boyfriend wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very, like, I know he loves me. You know, he's just that kind of person. He's very sweet and kind and reassuring, and I just don't think I need that like he does. So,
So you're good.
I'm good.
But you need to reassure him that things are okay. So it sounds like we're living in a world where men now are doing most of the chasing, and the women have to reassure them that things are okay. Is that that's where we are?
I don't think it's that. I think the dynamics has to be able to change. In other words, what you think all the time is not necessarily true all the time.
No, but before we even get to the all the time, not necessarily true, what we're in this space of is automatically you figured you needed to do that, and without you asking, she figured she needed to do that. So something is happening. Like you said, he wears his, you could say he wears his heart out on his sleeve, so you realize that he needed that. But you didn't need it. What is it that gives you that strength, that power that goes, I've got this, and him not so much?
I don't know. I guess it's kind of the way we were both raised. Like I said, he comes from a very loving, close family. His parents have been married forever and are still married.
That sounds like my situation.
Married for many years.
And part of it is the understanding that you don't have to do it all by yourself, which took me years to understand because I tried to do everything myself.
But the thought I'm exploring is, you tried to do it for yourself, is in the middle of right here, who's needing the reassurance? So I think
I
what
think
you're
it's
saying,
both. I think it's both.
Before you go, what I'm hearing is you have the strength, and if you don't mind, in general, men are more and more seemingly needing more reassurance because I think you said it earlier, women are, or I don't know if it's all of us or women, are in a space where we don't hold on to things as much. We don't hold on to things.
I don't think anybody holds on to things as long as they.
But here's the thing. While we say we don't think anyone holds on to things as much, it seems the men are trying to hold on a little bit more, and the women have to reassure them and go, I'm not leaving today.
I don't think it's all men, and I don't think it's all women either. I think it's whoever... There's one person, I think, in the relationship that does have a bit more masculinity, I guess. Do you know what I mean? There is some, I think, not one that wears the pants, but I feel like in a relationship, there's kind of always one that's a little bit more emotional than the other. So I think just he's more emotional than I am in the relationship, and that's kind of why he needs the reassurance and I don't. But, you know, there's other relationships and the female's more emotional than the male, and she needs that reassurance. So I think it's just kind of changes from each relationship, and every relationship's a bit unique in that way. But
interesting statistics that are bearing out, though, is that women file for divorce, out of the number of divorces filed, 80% of the time. And that number jumps up to 90% when you factor in a bachelor's or a master's degree. So the more educated, I guess, the more independent a woman is, the more she goes, ripcord. I'm outie.
And there is reason for that. And I think one of the reasons is that women at that level have the ability to do as they see fit. And it's not emotional. I think, one of the statistics I remember from many, many moons ago is when you are divorced, it takes you 10 years to get back to that level of where you were. And I can attest to that, being divorced and having to basically reset my life. And with that being said, in the reset, every 10 years you change who you are. So the person that I was at that time of the divorce, 10 years later when I got back on my feet, I was no longer that person, and I attract a different person. And so in that 10-year period, I realized I don't need to do everything for a woman to be with a woman. you are financially capable of doing for yourself. So with that being said, now we are a little bit more equal, but at that same time, she's bringing something to the table that I don't need to bring to the table to make it happen.
Okay.
And so in even in that, emotionally wise, like I'm trying to think if I've ever cried in front of a woman or anyone, and I'm hard pressed to think about that.
Same.
Because I was never put into that scenario. You know, it was literally like, wow. You know, when I heard her talking about, you know, her grandma, I thought about my grandmother crying. And even this was when I was a teenager. I don't remember crying at her funeral. And I remember being, what's the word I'm looking for? Being very intricate in the complete assembly, you know, from program to music, you know, because that was all of it at that time. It was a big funeral. And I don't remember, you know, and it was like being told, you know, you don't need to cry. But when we have the wake, everybody felt it. That was kind of the scenario. And that translated into even relationships. You know, people were like, okay, well, you know, are you bringing your wife to the funeral and things like that? Because it's separate. So they're thinking that you need that support at that. I'm just using the funeral, but at that time. And you didn't, because you already knew that they were supporting you from behind you. They don't need to be standing next to you or in front of you to show their support.
That's interesting. And I noticed as he spoke about the emotions and sharing the emotions, you said that's right. And something that you said earlier kind of jumped out at me, in that you said someone in the relationship has to be more masculine. So that means you're attributing masculine traits to a particular thing. What do you think are some of those masculine traits?
Maybe not masculine traits. Oh, God. I'm really into it now. I don't know. Like I said, I think that masculinity as a whole is very subjective. I think, you know, it changes from how you were raised, the environment you were in, the culture. So I think from what I kind of view masculinity, and like I said in the very beginning, like all my friends say I'm the man in the relationship, and I'm just that kind of person. So, and I think that attributes to my father and kind of being raised, you know, not really talking about feelings, not really crying in front of him, being very independent and, you know, learning to take care of myself. He also put me in all of the sports. I mean, I played on the men's baseball team for 3 years. I was a very big tomboy growing up. So that's, I don't know, I just think that I grew up almost like he was raising a son. So I think that's kind of bled into my adult life, that, and I don't, you know, and that's, I guess, just my version of masculinity is kind of like take care of yourself, and I don't really express my emotions very well.
So I hear you say that that's your version, but I also hear you saying your friends are identifying that.
Yeah.
And your father felt like he was raising a son, because I guess he didn't have a lot to get into there to teach you how to be feminine. All right. And so with that, do you think masculinity attracts masculinity?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, like when I think about, you know, the man, the father of my children, I definitely want a provider. I want someone that is as much of a kind of like a hustler like I am. You know, like I've always been kind of always trying to be a better person and always trying to reach kind of that next level. And I'd want someone that supports me but also kind of has those same goals as well.
Someone, see, a lot of people forget that masculinity, working together, is the number one trait of masculinity. When I mean number one trait is you are more comfortable working with somebody who is willing to work with you. In other words, they always say, you know, alpha males always find alpha males, because we may argue a bit, but we're willing to see the same goal and get that goal. So you're going to want to surround yourself by people who are that driven, and that is a very masculine trait. You know, you want the best,
And as you say that, Chuck, and you mentioned that you're involved in sports, so masculinity draws to masculinity so that we can slay dragons and kill demons and whatnot. But do you think, or do you see yourself going, okay, fine, I've spent a whole day killing dragons. I'm going to go home and slay more dragons?
Maybe.
There's a fine line, I think, with it, and it comes with understanding. When you get to that safe space of your home or your room where you cry or where you unleash yourself, that's where all of the outside. Because when I go home, I don't talk. Everybody knows. If I'm sitting down, they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's your time. Watch TV, whatever." That is the home situation. My daughter's like, "Okay, what we having to eat?" She can cook. She cooks for herself. So it's not that I have to do all that. Or when I get home, my wife is like, "Okay, what do you want?" "Okay, we'll get this. Go on and relax." I probably say 30 to 50 words when I get home, if that.
So interesting.
Because I talk 8 hours.
All day long.
All day long.
Exactly. So you're out slaying dragons all day. When you get home, you want that peace, that safe space.
That
quiet space to kind of decompress, work through things, right? And so what I'm hearing you say is that's what you want too. But when you get home, if that's not there, then you have to put up some boundaries to go, step back a little bit. I still need my safe space. So it sounds like in all our relationships, we do need that dynamic. We need to have a shift from whatever the day has been to whatever the night needs to be so that we can rest, decompress, rejuvenate, and be ready to slay dragons again tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I think that is it, whether it's on the masculine side or the feminine side, because a mother all day dealing with kids, when you come home, the first thing they want to do is decompress. Okay, you've heard, the kids is yours. Deal with them for an hour or two. You hear that often in many conversations. And so that's the time for you now to be the man, but be a little bit, for me, be a man, be a little bit, not so taunt on your words. You have to understand. So there's an understanding that comes with being masculine, and there's also an understanding that comes with being feminine. Like, you should be able to change but still be defined on who you are. And I think that's the part that people don't get in a nutshell. I think that's a part of communication that breaks down a lot of times, because I'll be like, "Okay, babes, you know what? You go talk to her." Now she's going to listen to you, because even though it's a feminine role, it's still on a masculine connotation. "Hey, let me talk to you. Your dad wants you to know." Boom. So I may have my wife relay a message to my daughter because it sounds better coming from her, even though it's a masculine thought. It's given in a feminine way.
Okay. So let's see if we can dig into that a little bit. So as we're saying, we're talking about relationships. We're talking about what men want. We're talking about what women want. We're trying to understand what that looks like. And what I've gathered from you so far is that you may have, or some persons may say, that you have some more masculine traits, some more masculine tendencies, and they present themselves in a particular way. Right? And you're nodding with Chuck when he's saying these things, so that means you're finding common ground there.
Yeah.
Right? And so the idea here is, in relationships, can relationships be successful if men and women are exactly the same?
I mean, define exactly the same.
We're both bringing the same things to the relationship. We're both bringing money. We're both bringing independence. We're both bringing strength to the relationship. Can those relationships be successful?
I mean, if those are the three pillars, but then you're also still your own person, yes.
Are you supposed to be your own person? I thought the marriage vows went and the two became one, and our lives.
I don't know if they say that anymore. I think,
and if they don't, what's happening? Because if divorce is on the rise, then
this is the dynamics of it, and I think a lot of times we read the numbers, but we don't read the situation.
Okay,
and the situation is, at not every time you have to be the strength if you are you understand that I don't need to be the strength.
So let's explore that a minute. So you're sitting at home and burglars are breaking in.
Yeah.
And your boyfriend goes, babe, we're equal. You go get the burglar. How do you feel then?
I don't know.
But see, this is the situation.
For a minute. Let her work through it. For a minute.
I don't know what I would do. If there was a burglar in the house, I'd probably just lay down and die, I guess.
And he just told you to go handle it. How do you see him? And what I'm getting at here is that even though we're saying these things, there's equality and the world is changing, there are certain things that we still expect of men, yeah or nay?
Yeah.
I will differ from you with that. For me...
So you're saying your wife would be okay if you told her to go handle the burglar?
Yeah, because she know where the gun and the bat is and everything, because I have preempted her to know, say, listen here, sweetheart, if I'm not here, here's how we handle things.
No, so I get that. I get the if I'm not here.
Right.
And but I'm talking about me sitting right there in the bed with her.
I believe that she would be able to.
Okay.
I really do. And this is even without me saying those things, because the woman that I went after is almost to that point with me. In other words, she is as aggressive as me when it comes to things, and that's the reason. And we've had these conversations beforehand to say, okay, you know what? I see you doing this. Why are you doing this? Oh, because I was raised this way. Okay, I like that. So you don't need me. You choose to be with me. I choose to be with you. I could probably go through life without being married. Not to say I would want to, but I can cook, I can clean, I can do all the things necessary for me to have a good life. But I choose to be with this person.
Why do we make those choices?
I think it's inherent with people not to be alone. Anyone who tells you that they're happy to be alone all the time probably is that way for a reason. In other words, they choose to be that way. But naturally, we want to be with people. You want that socialism. You want to have that person with you. Now, it just depends on how deep you want that person to be. That's your choice. They can be the best friend in the world, or they can be, as we said, marry your best friend. They could be the best friend in the world, or they could be your husband or wife. Okay. That is a choice you make.
All right, so we're making those choices. Those are the choices that we've made since the beginning of time. We're picking someone that we can go through life with. For some reason, long time ago, I think you mentioned it yourself, your father, your parents, they're married for some 40-odd years. And long time ago, people used to stay together longer. What is it that's changed between then and now that is causing relationships to fall apart much quicker now than they used to back then? Want to jump in, Cass?
I just think it's like there's more accessibility in this world. You know, like with social media and your phone. I mean, let's say like back when my grandparents were together, you know, my great grandparents, they met in World War II. I mean, that's insane to me, you know, and they were together until they both died. But they didn't have, it wasn't just quick swiping. It wasn't, you didn't have all those kind of temptations around you. You knew your husband, and then you, like back then, it's like she was stay at home. She had her kids. She raised her kids. He was off at work. And then they just grew
the circles
kind of old
were I think, smaller.
Yeah.
And smaller circles are more defined. If I had a bad day or I was out drinking or whatever with the boys, they're like, no, you need to go home to your wife. Now that is not, you're with people that you don't know. They're people that are, you know.
You never used to be able to slide into someone's DMs.
So two things I'm picking up really, really quickly. So
slide in the DM. Yeah.
You're saying your circle used to hold you accountable.
Yes.
And two, there's a lot more temptation out on the street. So with more temptation and less accountability, we're saying we're encouraging problems. We're
absolutely.
Raising a garden of problems.
It's there.
But against the backdrop of we want to be with someone. That's what you said, right? We are designed to be together. We can choose to be with someone. So what is it? If we understand that we want to be together, we understand the landscape is temptation and zero accountability. What can individuals persons do then to mitigate those challenges? Because if we want to be together, we'd love to have those long-standing relationships. We'd love to have those deep connections in our relationships. But these distractions are pulling us apart.
I think you just have to put in the work, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just goes back to the communication and actually realizing, I think with the way that people are so quick, short attention spans, and they always think that there's something better. There's always something better. There's always somebody better out there. And I think it just gets to a point.
More.
You just have to get to a point where you just kind of are honest with yourself and you're like, okay, this person possesses all these qualities. What more do I need? And just kind of accepting this is great as is. Let's work on this. And until you've kind of accepted that with whatever partner you're choosing, you're always going to be looking at what's more.
Right. So let's explore that then. Would you give up your DMs, your social media, if you met the right person, or to be with the person you're with, or the right person, the ideal person, your partner who checks all or most of those boxes today?
I mean, like, I would say that my social media game isn't... I have nobody sliding into DMs that I am secretly talking to. Do you know what I mean? Like when I'm kind of in a relationship, that's what I'm focusing on. I've never cheated before. I've been cheated on. So I think I'm very good at kind of separating that. Like my social media side is just kind of me being an idiot on social media and with my friends and stuff
but
like that. But
I'm sure you're still seeing, right, either A, attractive men that may go, or B, women who are going, they're being flown out by different men and they're being treated and putting on pedestals and go, So even though no one's sliding into your DMs,
I think there's nothing wrong with seeing it as long as you kind of have the understanding that whatever relationship or whatever you're in at the moment, that's what you're working on. And that's for me. I'm working on this relationship.
I think that a lot of people forget that all that glitters isn't gold. And being in the media industry all these years, and my wife always laughs. She's like, so what you know about this one? So what you know? I'm like, oh, she was with so-and-so. And she said something to me. She was like, so who were you with? And I was like, okay, and I pointed out, and she said, that's interesting, because I couldn't see you being with a person like that. And I was like, you know what? That's interesting because me looking back at it, I don't think I should have been with her also. So I was chasing things that were glittering when I was younger. And
so what we're saying is we're seeing the things and sometimes we're not thinking about them consciously.
Yeah.
And so we may
the
act
longevity
before we've even thought about it. I work in marketing, you work in marketing, so we understand that, hey, when things are out there, they're impacting you even if you're not consciously thinking about it because, hey, that's where we make money, right? We're going to dig into that a little bit more right after this break.
I came in like a rainbow. I'm not afraid.
Every day I'm hustling.
Now some of you might still be in that place. If you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll consider it.
Welcome to The Wrecking Trade. This and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., the radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of issues affecting men in the Cayman Islands. Join us as we explore the low enrollment of men and boys in college classrooms, the absence of men in the church, and the absence of fathers in the home. Join the conversation as we help men find their place in the modern world. Through engaging interviews with experts and members of the community, we provide a clear picture of what healthy masculinity looks like as an example for boys and girls. Our mission is to provide a voice for men, to help them navigate the challenges that they face and provide hope for a brighter future. So tune in this and every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. and join the conversation on The Wrecking Trade. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of men and boys in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you by Oscore Fitness, strong inside, powerful outside, and the Bellagio Salon and Spa, where beauty is reimagined. We are getting into it right here on The Wrecking Trade. I'm your host, Robert Lynch. I'm in studio with Cass and Chuck, and we're really getting into it and talking about relationships, exploring what is the root cause of what is happening in relationships today and how does it affect us globally as a community, but also individually. Just now, Cass, you said, hey, there's a challenge in relationships. There's a lot of distractions out there. Chuck, you said, hey, there's a lack of accountability. We're not necessarily holding each other accountable. And so those may be contributing factors to relationship breakdown. And the question on the table is, understanding that that's the landscape, what are we doing individually to protect the garden that is our relationships, if we all need it or want it to happen, right? And I guess I asked you the question, would you give up your social media? And I'm getting from you that you're saying it doesn't, even though it's distracting out there, it doesn't affect you?
Yeah, I don't think it affects me much. I don't know. I don't think it does, but
what if everyone else in
maybe.
the world is saying the same thing? Right? Yeah, sure, it's out there, so I wouldn't give up mine. But then what we've noted collectively is it is affecting persons. One of the things that if you see your friend going on nice vacations and, hey, she's getting this and she's doing that, chances are everyone wants to, the expression is living like the Joneses. Mm-hmm. We understand that impacts persons, right? So if we're living like the Joneses, and the Joneses are breaking up every Thursday and marrying new things so they can have the more, the better, the thing, do I have a little bit of Jonesitis in me? And how do I get treatment for that?
I think with social media, it's very kind of give and take world. I mean, you see, I'm also love going on TikTok. I don't TikTok, but I love going through it.
Right.
But you do see a lot of families and couples and married in committed relationships, and they have accounts together, and they do little dances, and they show you their lives, and they kind of are on social media together. So it's not like it's all bad, and it's not like people can't survive on social media and in their relationships, because it's proven, you see it. But I do think that social media does play a part in temptation when people are sliding into DMs, and you're looking for validation from others every time you put a post up, and you're looking at the likes. Like, that's people validating you and how beautiful you are, and what your life is like. So that also obviously plays a factor in how you're in relationships and what you think about yourself.
Do you think it impacts women more than men? You mentioned the validation about the beautiful. Chuck, are you getting validated?
Men
how
can be
beautiful.
I think on a lot of scenarios, the powers that be, the social media gurus are targeting women because there's very few apps that make men look more handsome or more buff or stronger than there are women. So with that being said, you take a look at it, and you have to understand, like I said to somebody just the other day, I said a big example is, I'll toss out a little radio information. Today is the anniversary of Hugh Jackman. He's married 27 years to the same woman in Hollywood. You probably have never heard her name. Hence the idea that you separate one life from another life. In other words, no matter how famous you are, no matter how much money you have, your home situation is different than that situation. But with that being said, I'm sure, more people have tried to slide into his DM than anything. And if it happened, it happened. They're still together. I don't know. But the reality is, you can have a successful marriage, but you have to know that that's my marriage.
And I'm also getting from you that you have to be intentional in protecting that garden. So I don't think it's accidental.
You have to be fearsome.
Or she's kept herself out of the media. And I think many other you have a few other famous celebrities who've done that. They've kept their relationship so the spotlight doesn't shine on it.
Right.
We also hear them trying to protect their children, because we understand that, hey, that light, those distractions will impact even when you don't want it to consciously. Right? So I guess the idea we're exploring is, how are we consciously and effortfully protecting that garden? What are we doing to manage those relationships? And we get into those. What I'm wondering is if there is a challenge sometimes for women to go, okay, fine, I want A, but I may be presenting something else, and that may be counterproductive to the A that I want. I have a quick clip that I'd love for you to listen to, and then we'll get some feedback on. Is that all right?
Okay.
My name is Tanu, and my question in and around goes for attraction. I do get asked for dates, but I'm never interested in those dates. And the guys whom I'm interested in, they are never interested in me.
If you were to have a guess at it, you seem very intelligent. So if you were to have a guess at it, why do you think that they don't see you as the sexual partner? Instead, they see you as the friend?
I really don't know, Matthew. I'm not sure.
It was sort of sexy when you said Matthew. I wish you'd do that more often. I wonder... I'm sorry, did you tell me your name?
Yeah.
What was your name?
You forgot? And you said I was special when you gave me the mic.
Maybe we should go for a beer and talk about it.
Don't you dare call me bro. I break your head, I promise.
Well, have you finished berating me in public?
No, I'm really here for the question of attraction because it never lasts. That's my question. It never lasts.
Well, I was just flirting with you and you shouted at me.
You forgot my name. I'm not interested suddenly.
But why did you use that opportunity to get angry with me?
No, I'm not angry with you. I'm letting you know.
We could have had such a little fun flirt right now.
You should have said my name will be whatever you want it to be.
It's a tad forward. But let's stay with you. I still need your name if you help.
My name's Tanu.
Tanu. Tanu. Okay. That energy you had with me when you were having a bit of a go at me, that's actually not bad. I just want you to channel it slightly differently. This is the thing, Tanu. There are millimeters between you getting what you're getting now and you getting everything you want. Millimeters. I promise you. I know. I promise I know. If you had just said, you don't remember. When I said, what was your name again? If you said, you don't remember. And I said, no, I'm so sorry. And you said, I'm going to tell you, but you better make that up to me. All right? Now we have tension.
There we go. What are your thoughts on what you just listened to?
I hate that he's in this room with a bunch of women telling them how to get guys. I just think that's the cringiest thing ever. But
was he on
he makes the point.
Uh-huh.
He makes the point. He's just teaching her how to flirt and not jump at him. I mean, she jumped at him. Whoa. Aggressive.
And so, interesting word, aggressive. So there it is. Sometimes we're in that space where we want to match energy instead of, and what he's, I guess, helping her to do is to offer complementary energy while maintaining the idea, holding him accountable for him forgetting the name, but create that complementary space where we can find that gentle flirt. And one of the other girls said, yeah, we should have told him, I'll be whatever you want. It's taking you out of that space. He said, no, that's too forward. So It's not about being sexualized. It's about being complementary. It's about being supportive. It's about creating that safe space that you mentioned where we go, hey, we're in this space together and we're having fun together. Mm-hmm. We're not fighting. We're not battling.
I think a lot of people, it's funny because I was watching it and I was trying to, I read what he says here, get the guy live. Uh-huh. And so I'm just thinking, at the end of the day, where do you go to meet people nowadays? Physically. Uh-huh. Because everybody is social media. Hey, you look nice. That looking at somebody's status or pictures is not who they are. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You really need to have a conversation. You need to meet this person in a place that is neutral, know where they work. You need to know something about the person that you're attracted to.
And you're so right. And the idea here is certainly you may meet someone, because she was focused on the attraction, where you meet someone, where do you connect? But what he's helping us to do is we may be meeting each other every single day, but how we're engaging those conversations, how we are connecting with each other, that may stop us from seeing who that person is or getting to know that person. I mean, he could have easily, like you said, it was aggressive. He'd be like, okay, you're a little bit aggressive, deuces. And then that interaction would be dead just there. And then the question is, how often do we engage in those interactions that where the other person just go, ooh, that's just cringe. And we cut off great interactions or great possibilities because we haven't engaged in a complementary way. We're more competitive.
Yeah. Like, she just made that whole thing just about, like, attraction, but I also feel like attraction is more than just surface level. I mean, I'm someone that doesn't have a type at all. Like, if you saw the different people I've dated, you'd be like, what is going on? But
the energy was there.
Yeah, I'm big on personality, like something that makes me laugh. I like, you know, someone that is kind of driven and all those qualities that we mentioned. And I think looks, obviously, I think they're all attractive in their own way, but none of them look alike at all. I think you are more attractive when you kind of have a bit of confidence to you. You have, you know, a bit of swag. So I think she's just talking about all surface level, the guys that ask me out, I'm not attracted to. And it's like, well, maybe try giving these guys a chance.
There is something to be said, you know. Generally, we have not experienced rejection by somebody who we are truly attracted to. Because if you like somebody, no amount of no is going to make you stop from trying to impress that person. You're going to figure out.
Quick safety alert. Is that still okay in 2023?
The reason why it's okay is you do it in a logical manner. In other words, if you like somebody and they say, you know what, I don't like you. And you say, okay, why? Why don't you like me? That means now you are putting it on them to say, why don't you like me? Oh, well, you're not handsome enough. Okay, what do you consider handsome? They got to think about that. You
want to jump in there?
Well, it's so funny because my roommate, she is someone that's so picky and dates the exact same type of guys. Yet every single one of these guys have hurt her in relationships. Do you know what I mean? She always ends up, she's the one crying. She's the one, like, pining for them. And it's like, she's gorgeous, but she never gives anybody else a chance. And I always tell her, like, when these guys ask you on dates, like, just go on the date because you never know the type of person they are. And it changes, like, attraction can change a lot. There's some guys that are very good looking on surface but have terrible personalities, and it's like you just don't even want to be around them at all. So she's somebody that on this island is very lonely, and she talks about it a lot, and she doesn't think she'll ever kind of be able to find anybody else on this island because of how picky she is. And it's like, I mean, that's like such an extreme way of like viewing relationships and attraction to me.
And that's interesting, and we'd love to have her on the show. So whenever she's back, we want to get into that conversation. We can see what's going on, right, and see how we can work together to find the answer. But I'm trying to figure out. Chuck said earlier, in our relationships, you know, hey, men, we've done this. I guess we've been doing this from a long time, but more and more the laws are going, hey, if she says no, it's no. Asking her why she doesn't like you and that sometimes, especially if that's going on in the workplace, so someone may go, oh no, that's harassment, or that's a bit more attention than she's comfortable with. You know, I think in some places in the US and in Canada, catcalling in the UK, catcalling will be soon considered a crime. Right? And so if someone's just walking by and you're, oh, you look nice or whatnot.
Funny story, they actually have a course at a university called catcalling, how to deal with it. Because literally this is something that is continued on. And you have to understand, there's a difference between talking to someone and trying to date them versus catcalling. There's a big difference, but a fine line. And
then who draws that line? Because what if she feels like what you're saying? Hey, why are you asking me why I don't like you? I just don't like you. Leave me alone.
And that is fair to say that. And you should understand that is an answer.
Okay.
But see that I think that's part of the problem, that we have been raising people who don't know how to approach and have a conversation without it being offensive. And that comes back to the communication aspect of what we've been talking about since we kind of got here, is the communication level is where is the line to say, I'm done? And the answer is no, no amount of questioning, the answer is no.
And that's interesting. So I teach a course called Communication and Self-Awareness at ICCI, and so much of that is what we go through. And not everyone goes to university, not everyone goes through a communication course, and so we're trying to figure out, how do we draw the line, how do we establish those lines, how do we establish those boundaries like you've done with your boyfriend, and go, hey, I'm okay, but I need space, so we can do it respectfully and lovingly, but firmly. And so that creates an interesting dynamic that we'd love to dig into some more, to establish the idea of, in relationships, we understand that people come from different places. We understand that people want different things. But we have decided to get together because we want to build that space together. And I'm imagining that no one really, or none of us here, get into relationships so that we can go, oh, in 2 years, we're out. We're going to move on to the next thing. It's not like the iPhone. Every 2 years you get an upgrade. No. When you get in, you want to get in for the long term. But when you get in, things present themselves, and I guess the more of those things present themselves, and if we don't handle them, I want to say correctly, but if we don't handle them properly, safely, if we don't handle them in the right way for us, we're going to lead to challenges and we're going to have problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So with that, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you sharing with us. And this conversation has been really great. We want to dig into it some more, but I want to leave some space to allow you to share some final thoughts and then share some more about what you do and how people can connect with you. Let's start with you, Cass.
Just like, how people are connecting. Social media, hey? Let's have more people slide into my DMs. Perfect. So I have my marketing agency here, Electric Media Group. If anyone needs some marketing, hit me up.
How do they hit you up?
You can email me, cass@emgkman.com. And I'll be on the line.
All right. So slide into your emails. Do you have some socials? Do they hit you up on IG?
I feel like I shouldn't be giving my socials now.
Your business, your professional socials.
No, my social's open anyways. But it's just Cass LaSalle.
Cass LaSalle.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what kind of services you provide marketing? So I just go, hey, this is me, sell me, or do you have specific services?
We got a lot, honestly. It kind of varies by client to client, but social media, advertising, graphic design, copywriting, bit of everything. All over the place. Photography.
Got you. So slide into your DMs and they can have a conversation and figure out how you can support even small businesses, large businesses. You can take
We have both, definitely.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And Chuck, this is your first time on radio. How was it for you?
It was pleasant. It was pleasant. You could find me here at DMS Broadcasting 24/7. Probably most of the time I'm accessible. But I have to say, great conversation. I look forward to listening more on it. And kudos to you for coming up with the concept and moving forward with it, Robert. It is very great. And I hope that someone has heard something to help. And I will tell you, for me, my lunch hour is 12 with my wife every day. Mm-hmm. So that is my connect and my downtime. So
You're protecting that garden.
Yes. She just messaged me and said, are you coming? I'm listening to you on the radio. And I'm like 5-7 minutes out. So I'm literally that. But that's us. That's our safe space. Coffee table, lunch, coffee, and we're good.
Awesome. And final thoughts for you on the show, Cass. What were your thoughts, feelings today?
Did anything resonate? I was super nervous coming into this, but it was good. It was almost like a little bit of a therapy session, right? Just opening up and just talking through everything. Hopefully something resonates with somebody out there. And, very interesting topics.
So did anything resonate with you in particular? Did you have any, revelations of, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that?
I mean, I'm always having revelations about, how I was raised and how that kind of goes into my relationship. So I don't feel like it's nothing new there, but it was really cool to kind of compare the two of our kind of situations and see some similarities cross over.
Excellent.
Right. Excellent. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope both of you I appreciate both of you jumping in and just helping us to continue this conversation, helping persons to find their smooth space, find their groove in relationship, figuring out what works for them, and then figuring out how to put those protective factors in place to make sure that we're protecting that garden so that we too can continue and not have to upgrade every 2 years like an iPhone. All right. Thank you very much for joining us on The Wrecking Trade today. Thank you for tuning in to The Wrecking Trade today. We hope that you found this episode informative and enjoyable. If you want to hear more from us, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us reach more people and create a bigger impact. And if you're looking for more resources on building healthy relationships, check out our book, Straight Talk for Relationships, available on Amazon. You can also find more insightful articles on our blog at www.robertnflynch.com. If you want to support The Wrecking Trade and help us to continue to provide a voice for men's issues in the Cayman Islands, please consider becoming a patron on patreon.com/The Wrecking Trade. Every little bit helps us to keep this important conversation going. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one on The Wrecking Trade.